So I'm going to continue to carry out the the activities in the persistent user class section of the web application security chapter. And what we're going to do in here is create a user class and a database table to store information about the user and a corresponding data access object to provide access to these user instances. So let's get started here. We need to create a user class. Let's go ahead and do that. Actually, I see an issue in here. It says the user class should extend persistent object, but I don't believe the code does not show that. And maybe in a subsequent chapter, I do that. I have the news item and user class both extend persistent object, but I'm not sure about that yet. So this is probably need to fix that in the book. So it does not extend persistent object. It's just a user class. Let's go ahead and create that. That'll be in the package publisher.data. Let's go ahead and do that. So here's publisher, source, publisher.data right there. See, there is no persistent object class there yet, although we might create it later on. So let's create this user. That's pretty straightforward. There's the user class. Go ahead and grab everything. And let's go over here. There's our user class. Basically, the user has an ID. That's the primary key in the database. If we gave it the type long, and there's a username and a password. Let's go back and now we'll create the corresponding user DAO, which is used to manage instances of this persistent user class. And let's call that user DAO, and the superclass should be data access object. There it is. As you can see, it extends data access object. Let's go ahead and grab this. It's a big chunk of code here. Basically, this is similar to the this code is similar to that for the news item DAO. Just going to clean that up a little and take a look at that. What's in there? User DAO extends data access object. It's a singleton. We call get instance to access it. Is that in fact what we did with the news item DIO? I think we did the same thing, right? Or no, we didn't. We accessed that that directly. So that's a little different style there. Okay. Alright, so here we made user DIO a singleton, and we call get instance to return instances of the class. And it's been a while since I worked on this. Perhaps I explain something about that at some point. We'll see. Anyway, let's just carry on. I don't see that I discuss the difference between those two styles, but there are in fact two ways of implementing these DIOs, and one is like what we have here, where we create what's called a singleton. So here's our it's a static member variable, which I call instance here. So this is the only place where we create an instance of the class, and then we have a public static function that's called something like getInstance that returns that one and only instance. That's why we call it a singleton. The news item DIO uses a different pattern here. We create an instance of news item DIO and then evoke the various methods on that instance, find all, and so on. And then we discard the object that we created to do the to perform this operation. So there's two different styles. So we see an illustration of both of those. Perhaps in a real project you want to stick to one style over the other. Alright, now corresponding to this this user class and the user DAO, we'll need to have a database table. We'll call it user. And so this we'll need to add this this SQL to the create script. I see I spelled that wrong right there. I'll have to correct that. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go in here. Where is our database creation script? Here it is. Create DB. Let's open that up. Let's see, open with the text editor. So we create the news item table. We create a sequence table. Let's create this table called user. We have an ID. It's an integer. It's a primary key, a username, and a password. There we go. Username should be unique. We declare it unique there. In the clean DB, we'll need to drop that table if it exists. This is user. Did I call it user or users? User. There we go. Okay. Then we have some sample insert command here. Let's put that in there. That would go into the insert DB file. Let's just make that a little bigger. So here we're creating a user called admin. Let's create another user. This is the primary key. Let's create another user. Call this user Alice. Password Alice to make it easy to remember. Let's create another one, Bob. Password Bob. And we'll need to run these. Before I do that, let's start the MySQL database server. So I need to locate that. That's in Program Files, MySQL, the bin folder, and mysqld.exe. That started it. Let's go back to Eclipse and run this ant build file. So right click on build.xml, do run as ant build ... We're just going to take a look at, so it's going to run all the targets, and so that will work for us. So it looks good. Oh, there's an error here. Duplicate entry 5 for primary key. When I inserted this, I forgot to increment the ID here in the user table. Let's save that. Run it again. So run as and build. Okay, we got a clean build there. We could, in addition, check. It's probably a good idea just to see the database of MySQL minus U publisher minus P publisher minus D publisher, show tables. Here's the user table. Select a star from user. There it is. So exit. That's it for this section.